In July of last year, Death Battle announced that they would be returning to YouTube as an independent show and company, but needed help from the viewers in order to do so. So they launched a Kickstarter that ended up being funded in 21 minutes no less. And among the many tiers was a tier that offered fans the opportunity to pitch any matchup of their choice directly to the showrunners. Naturally, hundreds of fans flocked to this tier, myself included, and after a few months, people had their calls with the crew and even recorded them to showcase on YouTube. Heck, one person even made a whole series dedicated to talking about each matchup pitch they knew of in a lot more detail than Death Battle typically does. Over the months, you've probably seen many matchups come and go as pitches, but now it's my turn. Earlier this week, I had my call with Ben and Chad, and it was an amazing experience. You can't tell in the call, but my anxiety was through the roof the whole time, but it turned out to be a wonderful presentation, and I can't thank the team enough for the opportunity. So with that said, enjoy my little presentation on Chara vs Sonic.EXE, my most wanted matchup.
Hello there.
Hey, how's it going?
I've been waiting a long time for this moment. It's an honor to meet you in person. Well,
Yeah, it's nice to
technically
meet you as well.
well.
Close enough, right? Yeah. Ben should be here in just a second, but I'll start by saying thank you so much for supporting the Kickstarter, for helping us bring the show back. I hope you've been enjoying the recent episodes.
I absolutely have. And thank you for this opportunity, the both of you. It's such an honor.
It's been so great getting to do these pitch calls and getting to meet a lot of people from the community and hear about their matchups. That's cool.
Absolutely excited to talk to you. And yeah, the general idea behind this call is that the floor is yours. There's no pressure or expectations or anything like that. We're just excited to hear why you're excited about your matchup idea. And something's going on here.
Yeah, look at this. This is cool.
What's
Yes,
happening
indeed.
here?
This is just a fun little thing I commissioned to start off the presentation. And as you
Oh my
can see,
God.
that's my avatar I use for my YouTube videos. And it is my job right now here to educate you on why you should do this matchup. So
All right.
let's get into it. Not wasting any time. The matchup in question is Chara from Undertale versus Sonic.EXE from Creepypasta. The demon who comes when they call its name versus the god of the endless game.
Okay.
Now, seems like a pretty oddball pick, so what are the connections? Well, both are nightmarish characters referred to as demons, Chara as the demon who comes when they call its name, and EXE as a demonic hedgehog, even though he's not technically a demon, but details. Both have powers connected to souls, both can see beyond and control the fourth wall, both sport freaky smiles and blood-red eyes with blood dripping from them. Chara is mostly in fan art, but it comes from their most iconic moment in the game, which is the genocide ending, if you know about that. Both have a fixation on the player of their games. One seeks to punish their player, while the other seeks to torture them. Both have a distorted version of a pre-existing laugh. Chara's is Photoshop Flow, he's just slowed down. And of course, EXE's is Kefka's, that kind of And also, different topic is an Undertale AU that replaces Chara with EXE. That exists.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
I mean,
quite
that
a
makes
lot.
sense.
Now, is this really the best for both? Well, because as you can see, both have a fair bit of options, but neither really fit me personally for many reasons. First of all, Monica, not a fan. She's really hard to work with in a death battle setting, and she has better, and even then, I don't think it would be really worth it to use Monica at all. Omori also has better, but he's a fine enough choice, at least if you really want to go there. The Batter is the closest one I would say is a good alt, and there is a theme there, but it doesn't run as deep as the theme we're about to get into with EXE. So I think for Chara, EXE is their best choice. Now for EXE, he has Fleetway Supersonic. You can clearly see the vibes right there. It's pretty surface level, but could be enjoyable, not my favorite. Slenderman obviously has better, like he has Sadako, Siren Head, and even Jeff the Killer if you want to go there. Red is the big one for EXE, and I think it was pitched to you guys already.
We have had that pitch, yeah.
But the thing is, it has a legacy, I won't deny that, and there are several aspects that could be enjoyable. However, it lacks a core theme that Chara and EXE has relating to them as characters. And that is a Punisher versus a Torturer. See, the thing about Chara is, for many years, Undertale thought she was the big mass murderer of the game. They were the one that killed all the monsters, and they were the one to blame for how things went in the genocide route. But the reality of the situation, as the fandom came to realize, is that they were the opposite of that. They were the punishment waiting for the player at the end of the genocide route. It was their job to make sure that your actions had consequences for just going the extra mile and being a murderer. And what does Sonic.EXE do every day of his life? He slaughters people by the dozen and loves it. He is the exact kind of player that Chara would despise. And what's more,
Interesting. Okay.
the thing about EXE is that he views humans as beneath him. They are little more than toys for him to torture and play with for all eternity. So, a human that can actually fight back, that can actually like give him a run for his money instead of just being cannon fodder, would actually surprise him way more than if you were to put him up against, say, Red or anyone else. So it would actually, so there's an actual character theme here for you to work with.
Interesting. Okay.
And in case you're still wondering, like, you guys are a business, you gotta make money, so you're gonna wonder if the episode's gonna do well. Lucky for you, these characters are insanely popular, both in their heyday and nowadays. In their heyday, this is a video from during Undertale's heyday, 3.8 million views for Chara. There's an Undertale fan game focused on Chara, over 2 million views. And this is the most recent one, a Stronger Than You remake of Chara's side of that fan song. And within literal days, it got over 1 million views. And if you look back on it now, it has like 11 million views.
All right.
And for EXE, honestly, it's a similar boat. The official remake of the game, over 1 million views. Play With Me, the song by Longest Soul Ever, 3 million views. And the original animated trilogy made by Torrance, formerly Bratwurst, 23 million views.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Game Theory did a lot of Undertale stuff. I actually don't remember if Game Theory ever did a Sonic.EXE video.
Matt had actually played the original Sonic.EXE game a while back, and that was certainly something worth watching.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but now that I got the pretense out of the way, you're probably asking a different question. How does this work? Because if you know either of these characters, they don't show up a lot or showcase a lot in their original media. There is statements and other stuff you can use, and like EXE has gotten some expansions to his lore in particular, and there is something you can use for Chara, but by and large, there's not a lot to work with. So you can either just go with that, or you can go with my proposition of doing a full composite of both characters, which includes fan-made material that is based on the original incarnation of these characters. And I know it's a hard sell, because not many people really like using fan-made material, but I think in this case, it's actually worth it. Because, mainly for Sonic.EXE in particular, because he is a fan-made character for a fan-made genre. It is literally impossible for anyone but Sega to copyright him, and even then I don't really think they would want him for any reason in particular. And and the genre of creepypasta that he comes from is entirely built on making any story with any kind of character. You're not beholden to one specific continuity. If you got a cool idea for a story, it doesn't matter if you're doing it with Slender Man, Jeff the Killer, or even some other licensed characters like Red Miss Squidward or whatever. You can make your own story, and it may as well be canon. It's not really that way. And also, there's the fact that no one really likes EXE for his original lore, for a variety of reasons.
Okay.
And if you're gonna do that kind of composite for one, you should make it fair and do the same kind of composite for the other, because it makes no sense to do one thing for one and not the other thing for the other. But this also doesn't mean you can use everything fan-made, because both characters go into wild directions with their fan-made material. Namely, there are a lot of Undertale AUs, like Errortale, Story Ship, Crosstale, where the worlds of Undertale are vastly different than the original incarnations. So that would be off the table. And for EXE, there are a lot of different variants that are very much inspired by the character, but are by and large not the same character. Like, even just by looking at them, and you can clearly tell the difference. So I think weeding out those versions would be the best course of action.
Okay. You are clearly very knowledgeable on these guys.
Yes, I've gotten very invested over the years. Basically blowing through those as quick as I can. Weapons, Chara has all the stuff that Frisk has. They can create knives at their will to use however they want. Made this fun meme that's a reference to Mad Dummy.
I don't need friends, I've got knives, love it.
Soul power, they got they got the save and reset. They can also do some other stuff, and also they have a whole bunch of souls from different genocide players that they've collected over the years, and they use them as bombs. Not extra lives, but bombs. But here's something really interesting. The 7 souls in Undertale that were collected over the fallen kids, they each represent an emotion, a positive emotion: justice, kindness, perseverance, integrity, bravery, and patience. Typically, Chara doesn't use these. In fact, I don't think there's ever been like a moment where they've accessed them. However, there's a really cool parallel to these that EXE also has that we'll get into a bit later. So I just thought it worth mentioning. Fourth wall powers: they can manipulate the box so well, they can distort the screen and destroy the buttons. Feats: they can dodge Sans' Gaster Blasters, which are like light speed. If you do, and they also will be Undying the Undying. This is mainly genocide for scaling, because that's what they're the end result of. Yeah. And if you scale Undying the Undying right based on what she can do normally, you can maybe get her up into the planetary ranges, but it is a little debatable. But this is a form known as Hatred Chara. This is from Glitch Tale, which I know some people are going to have a problem with because the creator is a little iffy, but we're separating art from the artist here. Let's not get into that. And as this form, which is built on a substance that feeds off of negativity, they were able to fight on par with Azrael himself, the god of Hyperdeath. Now, it is worth noting that they did seem to lose themselves as the more they went on, and Azrael was holding back quite a bit during that fight. But the fact that they were able to fight him at all during that fight is pretty impressive. But here's the big one, the one they're all known for: the Erase Attack, the giant slash that kills the entirety of Undertale. This is admittedly a little up to interpretation, because some people have scaled it as just universe busting, some people have taken account into the alternate timelines that Undertale factors into, and say it's like doing all that, and some people have said it just does an infinite amount of damage based on the amount of 9s on the screen. But given that it doesn't exit the outside of Undertale, like you could still open the game and there's just a void there, and the fact that Chara even says, let us erase this pointless world and move on to the next, I think that can contain it a little bit to Undertale and its timelines. Maybe a little lower, maybe a little higher, depending on your argument, but that's it. Getting this joke out of the way for EXE, he's Sonic, but bad! Ignore these guys, they don't exist. They pretend they don't exist. Yeah, basic powers: flight, telekinesis, teleporting so faster in different positions, and all the abilities of Sonic, though that's more for aesthetic than anything else. But being a creature of dark matter, yes, that's what he is, he can he's got transmutation. He can stretch his limbs and his mouth absurdly wide, he can duplicate himself en masse, and he can even transform into giant creatures like a spider, a snake, and whatever the heck this is up here.
Terrifying.
But in addition to he also regenerate any damage he might take should you damage him. Stab him in the head, blow his head off, completely vaporize him, he'll come back. And there have been instances where EXE's healing factor has been slowed, but that's usually from powerhouses like Metal Sonic, and even then, he's still walking around with all this damage, so either his pain tolerance is high or he just doesn't feel pain at all. Yeah, reality warping, he can change his dimension however he wants, he can... Well, pretty basic stuff, but he can do a lot with it. It just depends on what game you're playing. Psychologically, he can also manipulate people's evil in their hearts to bend to his will. He made a whole cult around it. He invaded people's dreams to either chase them or lobotomize them. That actually happened.
Okay.
But his most famous ability is fourth wall powers. He can do a lot with it. He can exit his game to laugh at you on your monitor. He can create a fake anti-piracy screen that can talk to you. He can close the screen of the game itself onto you. And he can also write I am God on your monitor, crack your monitor, and have it actually stay there until you go into the files and edit things.
Okay.
But yeah, he also has a lot of different souls himself, thousands, and he can use them as, say power-ups. He can use them to create illusions, and he can also just use them to attack people, like with poor Knuckles over here. But one unique ability is that should he find a soul not worth using, like playing with or using as a tool, instead of letting them go or just letting them roam around his world scot-free, he sucks them into his mouth via a black hole where they're erased from existence. He becomes Kirby.
Okay.
But this is the cool parallel that I was talking about with the souls. In addition to all this, he also has the 7 guardians of his world, caretakers of his dimension while he's out playing. Their names are Kito, Kenyo, Kofuku, Gekido, Zetsubo, Kyofu, and Yokubo. Now, there's not a whole lot of information on these. The wiki does state their general powers, personalities, and the hierarchy between them. However, they, like the souls, they also represent emotions, but in a more negative context. Prayer, disgust, joy, rage, despair, fear, and desire. So I think if you want to have like a little army battle between the souls and the guardians, that would be really cool to do.
Got it.
In terms of feats, we know for a fact that he made his universe within the void, and he warps it pretty casually, so at a baseline, he's at least universal, and one of his major goals is to merge our dimension with his dimension, so that makes it universal plus maybe higher. Physically speaking, he generally scales to Sonic, though it is mainly classic Sonic you have to work with, though it is pretty vague on that front since he's not that big of a fighter. But if you want something more concrete, when he made his game, when he got a program to make his game, in order to complete it, he shot a piece of his own dark matter through the dimensional barrier, and it crossed the whole universe in seconds and hit the building where the programmer was, leaving an X-shaped crater with just a disc surviving. So his dark matter can move pretty damn fast.
Okay.
This is probably going to be the hardest sell, but this is the closest thing EXE has to a super form. His name is Xenophane, and he originates from a Friday Night Funkin' mod, which I know how that sounds, but bear with me. The thing about this Funkin' mod is that not only was it made by the co-owners of EXE, but it was also responsible for EXE's resurgence to begin with. The whole reason EXE became popular again is because of this mod. So I think not including this would do a little disservice, but even then I don't think it's fully necessary. I just think it would be cool to have.
Sorry, go back. What do you mean by co-owners of EXE?
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. EXE is technically owned by 3 different people.
Okay.
How? Okay, sure.
There's a whole drama about it, and basically they do different things with him, and people usually just use one of the owners' lore to like sift out some kind of canon, but even then like you're ignoring 2 other lores that like go their own way, so it's a weird thing. Really weird. Okay, so start of the fight. It would take place in Snowden. Some random monster plays EXE's game, he gets summoned, kills everyone, Frisk and Chara arrive on another genocide route, EXE attacks them to make them another soul, fight begins. I think there would be a little back and forth between basic abilities here, before probably EXE would kill Frisk a few times, and have them reset, until he realizes what's going on, and takes the fight to his world. Where Chara fully takes over, and they bring out their more advanced power sets, and they maybe have some character interaction, like Chara tries to figure out why EXE is going on this rampage, and he's just like, I don't need a reason. But yeah, after a bit of back and forth, eventually they go into their super forms and destroy reality as their reality, leaving this background, which is actually inspired by one of the EXE levels. It was
this artwork's pretty cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I commissioned it to be featured in this presentation.
Awesome. Cool.
Now, in terms of who wins, obviously Chara, if they won, they would obviously involve the erase attack. And I think a cool way to lead into it is that at some point EXE gets so pissed off that he hits Chara really hard that it almost kills them. But as they're dying, they remember their family and they hear their voices cheering them on. And there's a whole play with the like, if X thing fills you with determination, and instead Chara says it fills me with determination, and that causes them to defy death like Frisk does during Azrael's boss fight, and then that leads into the erase attack, blowing up EXE in his dimensions. The one caveat is that I don't see that happening because EXE has ways around the erase attack, which I'm not going to get into because we are pressed for time. Basically, after he avoids the erase attack, I think it'd be really cool if we did a 4th wall break where it goes to the KO screen, but it glitches out, and then EXE mocks Wiz and Boomstick for thinking he's dead while showing he's not dead. He shatters the screen while holding their soul in his hand, and then, in a fit of rage, he just rips Chara apart, and then sucks their soul into his mouth, where they're erased from existence.
Okay.
That way, you kill them in a spiritual way, and get the
physical
gory death. Now, I was going to suggest some track items, but the track in question was by someone who's come under fire recently. So instead, I have a little hype trailer to show you instead, if you have the time.
Sure. We can do it real quick.
Actually, we got to jump right now.
Oh, okay. But if you can't see it, then.
But again, if you want to, please send this to that email. Please feel free to send this to that email that is in the chat, and we can check it out then.
Yeah.
Okay,
We are like
okay.
10 minutes over time, so we
Yeah,
really got to go.
I'll be sure.
But
I'll be sure
thank you
that-
so much. Really great presentation overall. Really clearly you put a lot of work into it, so I definitely don't want that all to go to waste. So definitely send it to us. We'll definitely check it out.
And we get it. Like
100%.
we see the vision for sure. You were very detailed.
Absolutely. All right, we got to jump, but take care.
Yeah.
It's been great talking to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.